Welcome back to Swiss Watch Expo. This is Richard.
I'm Jonathan.
And we're coming to you today with a brand new series. Stick around, we're going to tell you all about it. Welcome back again. My name is Richard. This is Jonathan. We're coming to you today with a brand new series called Taking Time. Jonathan, what is this series about, man?
It's really just something new that Swiss Watch Expo is going to be doing. It's kind of a discussion instead of, just showing you one watch. We're going to be doing a variety of different topics. Today, we're starting out with the Rolex Submariner, specifically starting out with the Kermit, the 16610 LV.
We're catering to our humanitarian size. We're going green.
Definitely. So to give you a little rundown of the Rolex Submariner, started out with the production being released to the public in 1953. The public wasn't allowed to buy it until 1954.
Right.
So that's why we have the anniversary model.
And that's the 2003 model, is that correct? That's when it came out?
Yeah. Really cool, very popular watch. This one I have here is called the Flat 4 because this was produced in 2003 with the 4 at the 40 actually being a little fatter than the other one that we have here.
Right.
Another little interesting tidbit is that this is what's called a serif bezel. So serif is little accents added onto fonts that in essence make this a lot more rare. It's pretty cool. And then after 2004, Rolex switched over to the model that went from 2005 to 2010. And there was actually a variety of different variations in this watch. There's like 7 in total. I personally don't know them all.
Right.
It's really hard to find the nuances.
By the way, if you guys do, this is a very interactive series. What we want to do is we want to be very engaging. If you guys know something we don't know, feel free to put them down in the comments. We want to interact with you guys. If you guys know something, we don't, by all means, any information that you guys give us is going to be super beneficial. So it's just going to help us serve you better here at Swiss Watch Expo. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jonathan.
That's all right. That's all right. That's what we're doing. So the Rolex Submariner is a 40 millimeter watch. It's their classic dive watch that essentially has the 3135 movement in it. Very classic. They ran through all the way until I think the recent 2020 models that were released. That's whenever they actually changed it.
They did the whole revamping, right?
Yeah. So this will have the Oyster case that's water resistant to 300 meters, has a stainless steel bracelet and the clasp. And all of these models that differentiate them, besides the green bezel, is all these models were made with a date. So that being said, you want to move on to the 2010?
Well, let's go back just a little bit because I want to do a brief summary of sort of the Submariner history if we can, because we talked a little bit about so it started in 1953. A lot of people, because it was released to the public for purchase, it was in 1954, but we know that because of the release was 1953. Rolex actually considers that to be the anniversary. That's why it came out in 2003. One of the interesting things that we found out during our research of all this, if you don't know about the Submariner, there was a man named Rene Paul, I'm going to mess this up, I'm not French, Jarret, we're close enough, right? Very close friends with the illustrious and famous sea diver Jacques Cousteau.
Really?
Both of the, yes, exactly. And so Rene Paul was actually on the board of directors for Rolex at that time. He reached out to Jacques Cousteau as a consultant to help them design this piece.
Okay.
And again, this is based on, a lot of this case design is actually based on the submarines that they used to take to deep sea dives. The very first Submariner, now I could get this wrong, but I think this is about right. The very first Submariner, rated at 100 meters, actually made it down to 330 meters and still kept good time.
Oh, wow.
So that's the crazy part. Even though it was rated at 100 meters, it still made it down further than that and kept perfect time when it came back up. So is there other history and some really neat tidbits about the history that you can think of?
Other than, what pertains to these models, another cool little aspect is that this is the first piece that they went to the maxi dial with the maxi indices being maximized. So maximize legibility, and the maxi hands. Other than that, I mean, this watch was actually in production, like not very popular, surprisingly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did not pick up popularity until the likes of like Instagram and all that started actually making it very popular.
It's amazing what social media will do for you.
I know. So you want to talk a little bit about the Rolex Hulk?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see which one's here. All right, so we get the Rolex Hulk. All right, so this is the Rolex Hulk, denoted by the model number 116610 LV. And if you don't know what LV stands for, that's French for another word that I'm going to screw up. That is lunette verte. Because I got this perfectly down here. Lunette verte. So that's the denotion for the green bezel. Now, all these models are going to have that nomenclature attached to the model number simply because of the lunette verte green style bezel that we have. So very similar. That they've actually stuck very close to their heritage. The Submariner hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot, but this case design. So this is the super case.
Yeah.
Unlike the oyster case, this is also an oyster case, but this is what they call a super case. You'll know this because this is a 40 millimeter case, just like the previous models. The only difference is, well, not the only difference, many differences, but the one that you might notice the most is that the lug girth is just a little bit fatter, making it a bolder watch on the wrist, a little bit heftier as well.
Yeah.
But this one was really, really super popular. Now, when it first came out in 2010, this case was released with the GMTs in 2008. But for us, for our purposes, with this particular model, it came out in 2010. It debuted at Basel World, much like many of the other pieces that we have. So it has all your standard Submariner components you like. It's got the Oyster Steel 904 Lima bracelet, L for those who don't do the military thing. We're veterans, by the way, so we geek out on this sort of stuff. So it's got the Oyster Steel Oyster bracelet. It also has your classic, and this is one of their new and improved versions of their clasp design. It has your locking glide slide on the clasp, so if you need to extend it for diving purposes or just because it's just a little bit too hot today, you can actually pull that out and lock it down to fit your comfort at the moment.
All without a tool.
Right, yeah, it's pretty handy. You don't have to take it into a jeweler or a watchmaker to have them fix that. Just like everything else, it's got the maxi bezel like Jonathan was just talking about. For those who don't know, the markers are actually what they call chromolite luminescence. That's a term Rolex likes to coin every one of their terms. So
yeah,
that's one of those nuanced terms they like. This is the chromolite luminescence on the markers. Those are actually encased inside of an 18 karat marker. And the reason they do that is so that they don't tarnish.
Yeah, white gold.
Exactly, it's 18 karat white gold. So, one of the problems that they used to have with these old bezels is they would fade over time. Now they've got what they call the Cerachrome. Is that Cerachrome? So Jonathan's forgotten more about watches than I'll ever know. So this is why I keep referring back to Jonathan here. So this is the Cerachrome bezel. And so this is not going to fade throughout the life of it. So part of the reason they did that on the dial is to add that same longevity to the dial itself.
Even with the ceramic bezel too.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, now this one got coined the Hulk, and I'm not necessarily sure why they coined it the Hulk.
I have a few theories on that. So one, it's this mixture of the super case, being a lot more substantial on the wrist. So it's going to look thicker.
That makes sense.
And then also mixed with the green on green.
Okay.
It just kind of makes it a hulking watch.
I always thought it was because you wouldn't like it when it was angry or something. I don't really,
that could be too. That could be too.
I don't know. But anyway, so we want to graduate from this one because this was discontinued in 2020. So we think this is the perfect segue to walk into what is now known as the Super Kermit, the Kermit. Now, this is the black dial, green bezel. This is denoted as the 126610 LV. So this got released with the Submariners that they released in 2020. Slightly different. As you'll notice, they completely revamped this case from the Hulk. I'm kidding, they didn't. It's about the same dang thing. They just did
it's very minute.
Very minute. So if you're not paying attention, you might not even notice it. So the way they did this one is just like they did all the other Submariners, but we like this one the most. This one is actually coined
the Starbucks.
The Starbucks.
Yeah.
So we have a theory as to why this was actually called the Starbucks, and because this one actually has a 70-hour power reserve because of the 22-25 upgraded movement. So we believe that they called this one the Starbucks, one because of the green and black motif on it, but also because they pump this thing full of energy, just like Starbucks does.
Yeah, it's got 72 hours of power reserve.
It's like your classic polka. I mean, what is it? Polka pumpkin latte. This thing is a beast.
Yeah.
So again, when we go back to the case, we're talking about just slight variations between the case design, the lugs being just slightly different in girth and weight. So not as substantial, but just as delicate and nice as the old Submariners. It actually gets it a little bit closer to being closer to the ones from the past versus this old.
Kermit.
Closer to those in terms of styling. It comes with your tri-locking crown, just like normal. And that's always denoted with your three dots on the crown. So it's got your monoblock case and your tri-locking crown. Now that crown was actually designed off the hull of the submarine.
Really?
So I found that out. That was kind of neat. Now when I discovered that, and these are just gorgeous pieces. The cool thing is, this is an iconic watch that's been around for 50 years, but the market went absolutely mad. After the Hulk version came out, 2010, the market went nuts, and it's very difficult to get these pieces now.
Yeah,
especially with the Hulk being discontinued. We would say that honestly, if you wanted to go to an AD for some of these pieces, you wouldn't find it. But here's our shameless plug: we got it. So come in and see us.
Yeah, at SwissWatchExpo.com.
SwissWatchExpo.com.
Give us a call too.
One of the things I learned too during our research is if you're a Bond lover, if you love the Omega 007. What I found out is actually the very first Bond watch held by Sean Connery in 1962 was actually a Rolex. It was a Rolex Submariner. So that's true. That's a little bit of a fun fact. So let me ask you, Jonathan, out of all these pieces, what's your favorite? Which one would you take home?
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to be a purist. And I go with the originality, and I'm going to have to go with the 16610 LV, the original Fat 4, because it's the starter. It started the whole trend. It's the original 50th anniversary, and it started with the maxi dial, the maxi hands, and it's got the pre-super case, so it's a lot slimmer on the wrist, and I really like the aluminum bezel insert versus a ceramic. Ceramic's not going to age. It's not going to scratch. Right. This will patina with you.
I like the character that you get after wearing it over some period of time.
Yeah. So, what about you, Richard?
I think so. I'm. You're an old guy. I'm a young guy. No, I'm kidding. I think we're about the same age here. But so I'm actually going to go with the Starbucks, and here's why. I'm like an Energizer bunny. I need something that's going to stay with me.
I like that caffeine.
Yeah, all that caffeine. I drink 6 cups of coffee a day, no less. So I'm all for the 70-hour power reserve. And if you're an avid collector, chances are, I got the Hulk. Forgive me, I got the Hulk. Let me pull up the right one here. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Starbucks. And I do like the name. I think the market is still trying. The watch world is still trying to figure out whether or not this is the Cerachrome Kermit or the Super Kermit
or the Starbucks.
I'm gonna go ahead and promote the Starbucks because I think it does work for having a 70-hour power reserve.
Yeah, and
I like it because if you own this piece, you obviously have an appreciation for watches. You probably have several of them. If you wind this and wear it one day, you're going to be able to set this down for almost 3 days without having to wind it again, and you put it on your wrist and go. Where the other ones you might have to pick up after a day and a half, 2 days, and wind it. I like this one because of that reason. So
this only has a 48-hour power reserve. So
this is my pick. This is Jonathan's pick. We want you to put down in the comments, what would you choose and why? We want you to be really engaging. Talk to us. Tell us what you think, why you love it, and if there's something else you want to inform us about, please feel free to put that in the comments too.
Yeah. SwissWatchExpo.com.
And we'll catch you next time on Taking Time.